Okay, so we're going to be taking a look at the Mabinogi Eternity project, but we're not going to be looking at it on the NA site, we're going to look at it on the Korean website, because the Korean website has more information, so let's hop over there real quick. So on the main official Korean Mabinogi website, right down here you can see Mabinogi Eternity project. Let's click on that. Then we click on the Mabinogi logo in the center. And there is a lot of stuff to read here. I think it's better if we go to development history. This is everything listed. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories to look at. So this will give us more information and a few more screenshots than what we've seen before on the NA site. So let's take a look at this one first. Taking the first steps in the news of Eternity. As many Militians have been waiting for, we have opened a space exclusively for the Eternity project. I hope they do something like this for the NA site as well, but for now there's only one on Korea for it, which will deliver exciting news in the future. As I'm about to deliver news to Militians in a new space rather than the developer notes or website announcements, it feels a little different. And I'm nervous all over again. Here we will conveniently report issues, concerns, and development news that our Mabinogi team has encountered while working on the Eternity project. We want to give you the feeling that we are continuing to develop with Militians over a long period of time. Of course, depending on the speed or progress of development, it may be difficult to provide news more frequently than expected. Nevertheless, we will strive to provide consistent news in the future so that it can be a space that makes waiting exciting. As this is the first story told by Militians in this space, I would like to briefly explain the current status and direction of the Eternity project. So, classic but classy. Okay, personally I feel a little awkward, but this sentence encapsulates the direction of the Eternity project. This is a slogan that was actually presented internally from the beginning of the Eternity project, so that it would not be forgotten during the development process and everyone on the Mabinogi team could remember it. I believe that the basis of Mabinogi that Militians who come to Mabinogi expect is a fantasy life. And fantasy life refers to all activities that allow you to immerse yourself in the world of Erin. And ultimately rebuilding it will be the core process of the Eternity project. In the end, the goal is to continue the direction Mabinogi originally intended to go from the beginning, and to achieve this, Mabinogi must inherit its classic identity. However, we want to create a sophisticated appearance so that we can present an unrivaled charm compared to any other game. So yeah, we still want Mabinogi to look and feel the same, but we do need to update and move to Unreal Engine. So I'm glad they're keeping in mind that Mabinogi has a very unique look and a very unique identity, and they're trying to replicate that in a way that everyone feels comfortable with. So, current status of the project. So you may be wondering how much progress is being made. A lot of people are wondering that, both in the NA and in Korea. The Eternity project is currently in the prototyping process. However, since it is a redesigned and inherited form of a live game, it is very different from developing a new game. As a result, the purely physical volume is planned is very large. It is difficult to say exactly what progress is being made. However, the Eternity project is going through, or must go through, the following process. We are planning to redesign the server structure and logic into a more stable form. All content as well as Mabinogi's basic movement would have to be recreated in the new engine. In the process, we plan to transfer and improve all data and scripts by renewing them in a better way. Every world and many of its components must be upgraded or rebuilt as they are moved to the new environment. Although this is an old game, there are original drawings and plans that have been lost in this process. While drawing and reproducing a new picture, you must create a new proposal for any content that needs to be modified to match the latest grammar. In addition to this, there are numerous other areas that need to be worked on to prepare Mabinogi for its new environment. In order to complete all this within a reasonable time and present good performance, I think we need to make bold choices, such as excluding infrequently used resources or content. We will explain the development process step by step and share our concerns. With this direction in mind, our Mabinogi team is working with a lot of worry on one hand and excitement and fun on the other. And in the future, we will use this space to tell various stories and be with Militians through the Eternity updates. So I thought about various ways to show the process. To enable this process to be developed together, we ask questions about what issues each person in charge of is actually experiencing and what concerns they are having. I thought it would be better to tell a more direct story about the development. However, not all people in charge, including me, have talent for writing, so they may be poor at writing. I'm a little worried that it may not always be interesting. Nevertheless, the sincere wish to create a permanent world of Aaron is. I wanted to go through this process together because I don't think there's much difference between us and Militians. We expect to be able to tell a wide range of stories by trying more diverse things in the future. Mabinogi Eternity is a fantasy life we create together. So this is why I like the new Korean director. Like, he's saying that not all of their posts will be super exciting to read about, because a lot of it is just boring technical stuff. But he wants to be very honest with the player base, and that is really good. So I really appreciate that they're choosing to be direct with their players about what's going on. So I decided to break this video down into 3 different parts, mostly because there's just so much information to go over. But we are having a look at the Mabinogi Eternity page on the Korean website. And this is because there's a lot more information about this on the Korean site than there is on the NA site. So watch part 1 if you want to see, like, where we talked about this, taking the first step in the news of Eternity. And next we're going to look at Omniscient Art Perspective. Hello, I am Safety Director Raccoon, in charge of the art side of the Mabinogi Eternity project. When engine replacement discussions first started, I thought engine replacement work would be carried out at headquarters level. Before we knew it, at the 23 Summer Fantasy Party, we finally announced a replacement, so the Unreal Engine replacement. We thought that the replacement for Unreal should start with Neo. While producing Neo, I kept asking myself if the first impression of her that everyone had in their hearts was correct. While making the Neo launching video, how many times did you screen the short video in the development room? Modifications continued until late the previous day, but no one in the development room gave good feedback because Militians felt this way when they first met Neo in the Soul Stream. The first impressions and feelings and current longing are all different. We dared to say this is enough. This is because it could not be declared. However, we are very excited and happy about this work, and we have been providing. In the world of Aaron, it was not felt due to the limitations of the Pleon engine. We are waiting for the day when we can find immersion and vitality together. Mabinogi is now approaching its 20th anniversary, because it's been around for 20 years in Korea. It is truly an honor to be on this journey with Militians. So, finding the Aaron we want. We already saw most of this post on the NA announcement, Mabinogi Eternity Project, finding the Aaron we dream of. So that's most of this information here. You can see, like, this is mostly what we just saw. So we'll be skipping over this. I'm not going to read all this. Check out the NA site or check out the Korean site and read all about it if you want to go over the information and compare the differences. And next we'll take a look at, let's start with Neo. So this is from a character modeler for the Eternity Project. In early 2023, an engine replacement task force was proposed and the foundation work was being diligently done. One peaceful day I heard this story during a meeting. Let's start with Neo first. I heard about the renewal of Neo, the representative NPC of Mabinogi, and along with the news of Neo's renewal, you will also hear about the difficulties that previous Neo workers experienced. This is a legendary story that cannot be fully written here, so the tension was high even before it started. Neo has an expression that seems both kind and sad, yet unknown. Neo's basic design is also burdensome. How shall I express it? Also, how much modeling specifications should be taken from Unreal Engine? Whether there are expression methods that need to be improved, and how much of the parts that could not be expressed due to the engine's limitations. So here you can see what Neo looks like in Leon Engine, and over here you can see what she looks like in Unreal Engine on the right. Personally, I think they did a really good job remaking Neo in Unreal Engine. Eternity's Neo original drawing drawn in the direction of renewal. The initial look was a mess, but as we received customized feedback, we gradually approached the unknown character Neo. In those cases, I put the two Neos side by side and worked on matching the images. I think this section played an important role in helping Militians accept this work as Neo. Yeah, I think they did a great job with Neo. Like, I know it's really hard to create a lot of these characters that we care about, and I know it's hard to, like, recreate the world of Aaron, because, like, none of us really want the world of Aaron to change, or the characters to change that much. We still want it to look and feel the same. And I get that that's not an easy task to ask the developers to do. that are working on this Unreal project. Posing where you can feel the wind, so this looks really cool. I posed, went through revision after revision, and even right before completion, I continued to worry about how much I could make Neo smile. What kind of smile would you like from eternity to give you? In situations where you have no choice but to be cautious about any expression, morph work, facial expression work is done. The Neo is smiling. At first, I kept the smile small, but my thoughts came together to express Neo's feelings more clearly so that they could be conveyed to the Militians. I was so careful about making Neo smile that I even remember separately requesting guidance from the art director. This Neo, who smiled brightly for a moment during the work process. There were many difficult moments while working, but now I am full of gratitude. Although every day is still a struggle, I will work hard until the day I meet all Militians. So yeah, this is a huge challenge for the development team to make the game look and feel good. Like, they're under a lot of stress about this, and because it is a very difficult thing to do. But overall, I think they're doing a really good job with it. So let's move to Unreal. This is Brown Sauce. I am currently working on replacing the Mabinogi engine. I wrote this because I wanted to tell Militians about background modeling among the work I did. I hope this article will be of some help to those who are curious about the engine replacement process. For nearly 20 years, Mabinogi has taken deep roots in Pleon. Therefore, it was obvious that the moving task was not as easy as transplanting a young tree. Of course, ultimately, most of the buildings and objects you can see in Unreal Engine will be newly built to be pretty and colorful, but for that work, you need a rough sketch. Because creating numerous new sketches is a huge cost itself, we had to find a way to replicate Aaron from Pleon and use it as a sketch at a lower cost. The first thing I was worried about when planning to transfer Mabinogi as is the question, can Pleon's specific world data files and modeling be used directly in Unreal Engine? And sadly, of course, that wasn't possible because it was Pleon only. In this situation, 3 ideas came to mind. The first idea was to modify the Unreal Engine code to read Pleon-specific files. However, if you modify the engine code like this every time you upgrade the engine version, there is a possibility that your modified code will conflict with the updated code. Then you must continue to fix the conflicting code. And because the cost of work is higher compared to other ideas, I didn't think it was the best way to create a rough sketch. The second idea was to modify the Pleon-specific files so that Unreal Engine could read them, but there's a problem with this method too. When creating objects in Mabinogi, modeling work is done using commercial programs. Afterwards, we convert it using a program we developed ourselves so that the Pleon engine can read it. Unnecessary data is deleted and some necessary data is calculated in advance for optimization. However, among the data erased at this time, there were values needed by Unreal Engine. Although it is possible to construct a 3D model with the remaining data, except for the removed data, this method was not the best, as it was noticeably different from the original. This file was modified so that Unreal Engine could read it, but the goddess statue looks angular due to the lack of smoothing. The third idea was to move the original modeling data into Unreal Engine before converting it into a dedicated file. Unreal Engine can easily and simply read files created with commercial 3D modeling programs. Therefore, as long as you have the original before conversion, I thought I could upload it to the Unreal in a form similar to Pleon. The first attempt to upload raw data to the Unreal was successful. The original data was output from a commercial 3D modeling model as a file that Unreal could read. When I imported this to Unreal, it looked much better than I imagined. However, this method was not perfect either. This is because traces of Pleon still remained. When working with a 3D model of a Mabinogi object, in addition to configuring the object's shape, data for interaction within the game is also added. However, this data was not needed in the sketch. Rather, the shape of the sketch looked different due to this data, so I had to find a way to erase this unnecessary and disruptive data. To transfer the original modeling data to Unreal, read a file in a 3D modeling program, and then it must be output as a file that Unreal can read. The problem is that even though this process is short and simple, the number of files is too large. The problem is that it takes too much time for a person to do all these files one by one. Considering the physical time, automation was essential. The 3D modeling program used by Mabinogi has a script language that supports automation. If the user scripts the tasks or actions he or she wants to do with the modeling program in advance, you can repeat that task over and over with the click of a button. Use this script to do the printing work that had to be done for each file one by one, while automating the program to do the work for you. I also deleted unnecessary data from the sketch that I was concerned about earlier. Also, the texture of the original modeling data must be converted into pixel format so it can be read by Unreal Engine. This processing was also programmed to be done in the script. In order to use the transferred 3D model as a sketch, you must place it in Aaron, created with Unreal. However, Unreal Engine cannot read Pleon's specific world data files, so I had to check the location, direction, and size in Pleon one by one. There were a lot more pieces and more work involved than the previous work, and because it had to be processed using Unreal Engine, I couldn't even write a script for a 3D modeling program. While I was thinking about it, I thought of an idea. If it is possible to extract object type, location, direction, and size from a dedicated world data file, couldn't we use it for placement in Unreal? When constructing Pleon's Aaron world, Mabinogi uses its own world creation program. 3D model data created with a commercial program is imported into the world, creation program and placed. Afterwards, the batch status is finally converted into a world data file. The self-developed program was familiar to me, and the inside data file was. So I was able to modify the program to extract the data needed for deployment from the world data file. Now all that's left is to have Unreal Engine read the extracted data and automatically place the 3D model. This issue was addressed by adding a feature to the engine. Because the automatic placement function was implemented with functions that already exist in Unreal Engine, it was relatively less expensive than an engine modification, and the risk of code conflicts was low. Dumbarton transferred to Unreal Engine to use as a sketch. Through these processes, my work on automating sketch production was completed. Currently, background modelers are working hard to create a new Aaron based on the sketch. My eyes are purified as I look at Aaron being reborn in high quality. Although my work does not create a finished product, I feel great joy and pride because I am helping Aaron in her process of rebirth. There's a lot of work ahead before Mabinogi can fully move to Unreal. There are many technical problems that need to be solved. It may not be an easy road, but for the day, we invite all militians to the new Mabinogi. We will move forward steadily and diligently. Alright, let's play some Mabinogi today. So today we'll be doing a few dailies. We're gonna do some tech dailies, the veteran dungeon, stuff like that. And maybe a no order run mission today, if we can get a pass for it. So let's see if I can get one. If not, I'll just do the... I'll do the battle team mission tomorrow. If I don't get the pass today. Speech bubble. Ah, crap. Oh well. We'll do the battle team mission tomorrow then. It's no big deal. Put this knee right up here. Toss all this junk, we don't need this. Okay, let's raise that pond up. Wait, did I get any more of those boxes that give the 20% spirit gems? I think that was tied to Eunice's event that ended, so I don't think we get those anymore. Okay, that's fine. Weapon critical damage and weapon damage. Let's look up the weapon damage next. Right here. So what are the shadow missions today? Shadowcast City. No, there's no point in doing shadow missions or leveling up until tomorrow, until I can do techs. So we're going to do the vet dungeon, and we're going to do like a bunch of tech runs. Like 5 or 6 tech runs, maybe 7. So Albi Dungeon is the vet dungeon today. And I also want to get a Neorite from the Adventure Seal shop. Get one of those. Alright, and I only have an hour to use those tech reward boxes, so let's see what I want to get from that. Okay, we'll drag that over here, and then what do I want to work on? Time Shift, Defiance, Stamp and Shock. Wait, Blunting Field's at 10? All these are at 10, so I need to decide on a new tech skill to put on this one. I could get Tenacious Taunt if I wanted to. Yeah, let's get Crystals of Challenge. We'll work on leveling that. Or don't work on leveling Fate Weaver. No, we'll focus on Fate Weaver instead. That one's close level. I guess both of them are level 4, but I'll work on this one next. It's closer to level 5 though. Oh wait, I took the green crystals. Okay, then we'll focus on that one. Maybe I'll work on taming a little bit today too. I don't know. Let's switch to Arsenal Gunner. And dual guns and staff. Okay, let's go do the vet dungeon first. Oh, and since I'm not going to be doing a Baltane mission today, we'll get some speed potions from this instead. And time for the boss. Get rid of these little spiders first, they're just gonna be in the way. Okay, meteor. And then time shift. Lock on. Fire, 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 fire. Down in 13 minutes and 14 seconds. Spirit gems, some thread. Get out of here. Alright, let's do some techs. So we're going to switch to Dark Diviner. And let's go to the Sen Mag. Okay, so Spell Walk, some Mana Shield, and let's go. Am I forgetting anything? Speed Potion, boring stuff. Yeah, okay, we're ready. Okay, so that's 7 runs. We used the Neorite from the Adventure Seal shop, and 6 of the Neorite that we got this week. So I think we'll do the other 4. We'll do like 5 runs tomorrow. We'll get another Adventure Seal Neorite tomorrow, plus use these 4. These checks in here. Was that all of them? No, I think so. Doesn't feel like I put 7 in there. I must have. And do I need to do any repairs soon? No, not really. So we'll deposit any gold that we have. Alright, let's do some commerce. So we'll switch to all bags. I think we're just gonna do commerce for the rest of the stream. So I got my Tara rating high enough. I'm working on my Belvast and Cobb rating right now. Yeah, let's work on trading from Port Cobb, I think. And before I actually start commerce, I need to check on something real quick, so I will be right back. Alright, let's do some commerce. So let's take some of those jellyfish and take those to Tara, I guess. Oh, and I have one speed potion left, so we'll use that too. Okay, so what's my rating in Cobb right now? It is 30% of the way to level 6. Let's go back and trade from there again. Gonna do a lot of Cobb runs today, and maybe 1 or 2 Belvast runs, I'm not sure. Gotta get those merchant ratings up. So wait, do I need a level 6 or a level 7 rating to get that last trade good here? Take a look at that when we get there. Level 7, okay. So let's get some more jellyfish. And we'll take those to the Tara again, because they're worth almost the same amount as they were last time. Okay, let's sell this stuff. And from 30.8% to... was it 30.8% before? To 57%, okay. That one's up a lot. We've already done 2 runs from Cobb. We better give those prices a little bit of a chance to bounce back. Let's do a trade run from Belvast next. Okay, let's get some of this armor and take this to Tara, and we can also take 4 of these swords there as well. Alright, what's that Belvast rating at now? 73.7. Good enough. Okay, so I think we're gonna wrap up the Mabinogi stream right around here for today. And tomorrow we'll do Veteran Dungeons, some techs, and the Beltane mission, Nowhere to Run, to level up Forbidden Alchemist some more. But that's tomorrow's problem. I guess I'll use this Forgetful Potion now. We'll reset our level for that. Yeah, that's it for this Mabby stream.